Bipedal locomotion is the worst. You take a step forward and you end up just standing there, legs akimbo until you repeat the process with the other foot. Then you do it again, and again, and again, back and forth, left and right, like a putz, until you reach your destination. Hopefully somewhere to sit. Even worse, walking requires real physical effort. For our distant ancestors, slogging through mud and snow and across ice on foot quickly ate into their already tight caloric budgets. That limited the distances that they could travel and hunt in a day. Sure, the advent of wheels in the 4th millennia BC drastically improved our transportation options, but it would be nearly another 6,000 years before we'd think to strap them to our feet. A 2007 study by a team out of Oxford University suggests that the practice of ice skating potentially emerged in Finland. This is based on evidence from a set of bone skates, really horseshin bones, dated to around 1800 BC. The team argued that the region's large number of interconnected waterways, which freeze over every winter, was the only place in the ancient world both cold and flat enough to make skating make caloric sense. In fact, the research team found that these skates offered a 10% energy savings versus traveling the same route by foot, which added an extra 20 kilometers of total distance people could travel each day. The practice also appears in Western China. This past March, archaeologists discovered 3,500-year-old skates made from oxen and horsebone in the country's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. This suggests a potential knowledge exchange between the two Bronze Age European and Asian civilizations. It wouldn't be until the mid-1700s that the wheeled variety made their first appearance. Those early unattributed prototypes showed up in London stage shows as props to simulate ice skates in winter scenes. 18th century Belgian clock and instrument maker John Joseph the Ingenious Mechanic Merlin is credited with devising the first inline roller skate, a two-wheeled contraption he unveiled in the 1760s. He did so by donning them before unceremoniously running headlong into his noble host's full-length mirror. It was a whole thing. London's first public roller rink, the Strand, opened in 1857 and set off a decades-long love affair with the English populace. As skating grew in popularity, the skates themselves quickly evolved to flatten the learning curve in staying upright. Merlin's early two-wheel inline design gave way to the classic four-wheel side-by-side build, aka quads. New York City's James Leonard Plimpton is credited with their invention in 1863. Not only did Plimpton's skates offer a more stable rolling platform, they were the first to incorporate trucks, the cushioned pivoting axles that virtually all modern skates and skateboards use. A dozen years later, someone finally got around to inventing proper wheel bearings, that someone being William Brown of Birmingham, England. He patented his first ball bearing design in 1876, one which would go on to become the basis for virtually every modern wheel bearing, from skates on up to semi-tractor trailers. With bearings in your wheels, it's far easier to pick up velocity and achieve a higher top speed. So rather than let the public go full Merlin at their local rinks, the toe stop was invented later that same year in 1876. From the dawn of the 20th century, roller skating has been an intractable part of American culture despite generational swings in the pastime's popularity. The sport rolled right over from the UK in the early 1900s and experienced an initial surge of popularity, until the Great Depression hit in the 30s. To keep the interest of an economically stricken public, Chicago-based sports promoter Leo Seltzer invented roller derby in 1935. He had originally owned a string of movie theaters in Oregon, but got into live event promotions when his movie houses became losing propositions during the economic downturn. This coincided with a national endurance competition fad. Think marathon dancing and pole sitting competitions, all that weird stuff old people did before we invented the internet and entertainment. Derby as we know it today grew out of Seltzer's early roller marathon idea. His inaugural Transcontinental Roller Derby in 1935 lasted several days and drew a crowd of more than 20,000 spectators. In 1937, Seltzer tweaked the competition's format to allow for more physicality between contestants, and thus, modern roller derby was born. Derby, and skating in general, fell off during World War II for obvious reasons, though many derby stars of the day served abroad as USO entertainers for the troops. Skating saw a massive resurgence in the post-war 40s and 50s when, just like with rock and roll and the blues, white folks helped themselves to the already established black skating culture. Skating fell off a bit in the 60s, but came roaring back in the disco era. At the tail end of the 1970s, the industry once again reinvented itself with the introduction of inline skates. In 1979, brothers and business partners Scott and Brennan Olson happened upon an old pair of inline prototypes in Minneapolis. These had been developed a decade earlier by the Chicago Roller Skate Company. Competitive ice hockey players themselves, the two immediately saw its potential as an off-season training aid. By this point, inline skate designs had already been patented for decades. The tech itself was known, but nobody had really managed to make the wheeled boots commercially viable, until the brothers Olson founded the Rollerblade Company in 1980. And you'd think that we'd have learned from Icarus, but no, in 1999, Roger Adams had the bright idea to further integrate walking and rolling footwear with Heelys. skates that were actually shoes but with small wheels mounted in the heels. Not to be outdone, Razor debuted the Jet's heel wheels in 2018. Think just the back half of a set of quad skates, but they're driven by an electric motor that hits 10 miles an hour and can go for up to 30 minutes. And in 2022, our wheeled footwear aspirations came full circle with the release of Moonwalkers, quad skates that are worn like skates but are powered like jets and are designed for stepping, not pushing, and gliding. Designed to make you feel like you're on a moving walkway, these devices can reportedly accelerate your strides up to 250% and adapt to your gait as you use them.